comes to that.
We can have them sit in the middle.
I like these things. I don't have to be in here too if you want to be.
No.
If you want to be 6 feet apart.
No, we're fine. Well, we'll see what he says, but yeah. there's the kind of the order, responsibilities, pay, one fair thing, pros, cons, one cool thing you've done, skills, and then how did you get to this point? Let's look at the camera. Tad bit towards you. We'll be starting as soon as he gets here, hopefully within the next 5 minutes or so. We have 3 seats.
Yes, we'll do a live video. Yeah, everything's open. Just because we have a system. Okay. In fact, we turned the storage room into a studio or storage, which is why everything's open right now. But come on in.
Got lots of storage things around, so we converted this into our lab slash studio. Man. So you can sit right here in the middle.
Awesome.
And that's Chuck Young. Did I
Yeah,
it?
we did, yeah. Props.
Oh, nice, nice. On Mondays we do modular experiments. Yesterday we took different salts and burned them. However you want to sit on it. Tuesdays we're doing live interviews.
Yeah.
We had Milligan chemist last week. Wednesdays we go on locations, and then Thursdays we do engineering challenges with the kids. So every day at 11 we got something. Well, Monday and Thursday.
Everett's here.
Everett's here, good. And so we're Facebook Live, and so the kids, sometimes they ask questions, sometimes we have 50 kids, sometimes we have 5.
Yeah.
But it's all being recorded at the same time so that throughout the school year they can pull it up if need be.
Awesome.
Or if we don't need to come back to school, then they can use this as well.
Yes.
Okay, so I got 11:03 kids. We're going to go ahead and get started. And today we have with us Mr. Matt Mullins for BMW. And tell us what do you do for BMW?
So I'm the chief driving instructor for the BMW Performance Centers and the BMW Performance Driving School. So we have, I'm here in the upstate. But our Performance Center is in Greer, right across the street from the manufacturing plant.
Okay.
And that's the original one, but we also have one that's on the west coast out in near Palm Springs, California, at a place called the Thermal Club. And so I travel out there some as well. But so we teach driving, all kind of different driving stuff.
So you teach driving, and it's here in the Spartanburg area. It's about Highway 101, is that right?
Correct.
On Highway 101, so it's pretty local with what he does here. Driving school, who would that include?
So it's not to get a driver's license. So we don't have driver's
So don't go there,
basically.
not the DMV.
No. But we do have classes that if you have a limited license, so permit, but really once you get your limited license and you can drive, so you could be 15 and a half here, and you can do that. So that's our teen driving school. So, and then everything else we have is from 18 up. So that's car control school, which is, it's driving skills, but it is driving the car to the limit of the traction and the grip of the tires and past that. So you're really learning how to manage and handle a car, when it gets into a situation where you need to be able to correct a problem, right? So really, problem solving, right? So
I've heard problem solving. Yeah. I've heard traction, so talk about friction. So without even getting into the interview so far, we're already talking about science. Mr. Young, if you want to say anything, he doesn't talk much, by the way. If you want to say anything, just say something. Okay, so we've already mentioned a couple things about science, and I haven't gotten to that point yet. And we'd like to get to talk about the science and maybe some cool stuff that you've done. We have to know the science. So.
Yep.
Okay, but we'll get there.
And so then we have all kind of high performance driving, like M schools, so that's in cars like M2, M4, the new.
Those are fancy cars.
Competition, so 617 horsepower, it's gorgeous.
1,600 horsepower?
617.
617, okay.
Did I say 617?
I got that.
617.
That's so low horsepower.
617 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds or something like that. It's a $160,000 car, gorgeous. So anyway, we have a fleet of those. But and then we even go up to training for engineers. So a lot of the engineers that work at BMW manufacturing, for them to do different tests and certifications, they have to be qualified to drive, whether it's prototype cars with systems that aren't fully thoroughly tested and developed, but they have to go out in the real world and drive these things to work on them, right? So we do training for that. We even have a fleet of real BMW race cars out at our West Coast facility. So these
that's West Coast.
It's the real deal though, man. Rings and slick tires and it's called an M4 GT4. That's the race car. So these kids are playing Xbox and stuff. They probably actually they just now they just released the M4 GT4 but I think it's for for the other one for PlayStation. But
Okay.
so they probably know what these cars are, some of them. But so we just do driver training. We even do some stuff for some special forces and Secret Service, and we got some.
That's cool.
Yeah, got some guys who were talking about coming in with us, some Marine Corps guys, special forces stuff. So any kind of driver training, that's what we do.
So we're talking about a high school kid that has their license, they can come in there to get some training to learn how to be a better driver. So we're talking about high school kids can be a better driver.
Correct. So this is emergency lane changes, emergency braking. We're on our skid pad teaching skid control. So I mean, we're purposely throwing you into a skid on this polished concrete wet skid pad, and then you gotta correct it, right? And so it's awesome. My daughter just came over and went through one of our programs, and she was like, you know, I don't want to do this. Why do I have to do this? This is dumb. And
Typical teenager, right?
Typical, yeah. And then she's like, that was awesome. That was really cool.
Very
I'm like, yeah, because you're really learning stuff. It's not we're not lecturing you. This is not be safe. This is, hey, we're going to throw this thing out of control and teach you how to fix it.
That's
what you need to know when it all goes wrong is how to fix it.
It's
right?
not that 8-hour driving boring course that you have to take. So
It
is
is
hands-on.
Yes.
You put the car to the extreme limit and make
Yes.
and you teach the kid then how to manage the car properly.
Correct.
That's awesome.
That's what
And that's here in Spartanburg, y'all, right?
Yes.
In the Greer area. That's here in the upstate. Awesome. Awesome. Mr. Young, you have any questions?
Well, we had
We have one?
question. Everett was asking, do you teach people how to drive sports cars? And you kind of answered that already.
Yeah, that's exactly. So BMWs are pretty sporty.
Sporty
And,
car,
yeah. So even in the teen driving school, the car says right now it's a 330 M Sport package. I mean, this is a really amazing sports sedan that these kids are driving. If it's in a 2-day version of that, they drive some other stuff on the second day, like maybe in a new Z4, which is a really cool car.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing, you know, top down.
Top down?
Yeah.
Man, you couldn't ask for
It's
something better
pretty
than
cool
that.
stuff, yes.
Okay. So,
Look at the next question.
yeah, we'll hold that. Chris Brown, we'll come back to your question a little bit. I'll hold off for that about the World Guinness record.
Oh, the drift.
Yeah, the drift. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that one. So is it safe? If these kids are going in to do this driving school, is it pretty safe?
It's very safe because, I mean, really, if we talk about all kinds of dangerous stuff these days, right? Like in our current situation, you know, like a virus or whatever. If you want to do something that's really dangerous, go drive on public roads, right?
Interstate 85 between Spartanburg and Greenville.
Well, anywhere. So statistically, driving on public roads is one of the most dangerous things most of us will ever do in our entire life. It's crazy dangerous, right? So I tell people that's the number 10 on the danger scale is driving on public roads. But so the Performance Center is a closed course. We're in brand new cars. You know, everybody's wide awake. So I say that's like a number 2 on the danger scale. This is a controlled environment. So a car spinning around doing a 360 on our skid pad, it happens every day. We're totally prepared for it. That same thing out in the middle of traffic would be pretty scary. But yeah, it's totally safe. And it's the place. It is the place to learn it. Like, how else do you learn these things? You can't really go do it. You wouldn't want to. Out in the real world, you want to have a place that's specifically built just for what we do, and that's what it is.
Awesome. Awesome. Great opportunity for kids to do some learning how to handle situations that might be thrown in on the interstate. Okay, if you could pick one favorite thing about your job, what would it be?
Oh man, there's so many
One favorite thing.
One favorite thing.
Not a cool thing you've done. I think Chris
Well,
one favorite thing, something that you look forward to doing every day.
Well, so at the end of most all of our schools, so not the teen one, but every other one, at the end we take people on a hot lap. And so that hot lap is, I mean, right now we're in the M5, which is that same 617 horsepower engine. I mean, we're sliding around, drifting through some corners. People are in there just like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So most people have never been in a car doing that stuff. So that's maybe my favorite. That's really fun.
Get the drift.
At the end of the day, yeah.
Watching them panic. Oh! Okay, that sounds good. What are some pros? What are some pros, some good things about your job?
Teaching people a skill that you know really can save their life, right? So we, you know, a lot of times people joke around or we joke around and go, well, we're not curing cancer, we're not saving the world, but sometimes we are, because most of us drive a lot, some of us every single day of our life, and so if you learn something that helps you, whether it's looking ahead further and you spot problems so that you're not involved in it, or you got the skills to go make that emergency lane change or whatever, it's like, that's a pretty awesome thing to be able to give somebody. And the other thing that's great, another pro, is just seeing people when they do it well, like if it is the sports car type stuff, or learning how to drift on the skid pad, or learning how to really handle a car. I mean, for most people, that's a really big deal, and to them it's a huge sense of accomplishment. They go, it's fun, it's awesome, and that's so cool. And so just the look on their face, or they're so appreciative, and they go, awesome, this is so cool. So it's really great.
And it's applicable, because if you just think between Spartanburg and Greenville on Interstate 85, and how much of a disaster that is.
Sure.
There's accidents and everything that happens on there.
Yeah.
And so it's directly applicable to the teenager, to the adult.
Some most people we use every day, right? And
Awesome.
we meet great people. We have a whole lot of fun with that, and so I mean, there's so many pros get to work outside. You're not always
Outside.
the desk. Now outside when it's it's sleet and rain, because we still run all the time. I mean, we've only had, in the 20 years I've been there, maybe 1 or 2 days where we had to stop classes because maybe it was an ice storm and everything was so frozen over. So if the weather's not great, you're still outside.
Because you got to learn how to drive in that weather anyways.
And instructors, we throw on the rain gear, because a lot of times we're outside the car talking on the radio, so while they're in the BMW with the heated seat on and all that stuff, we're out there getting pelted with the rain. So, I mean, but it's pretty minor stuff, right? So that would be a con, I guess, on the
I don't want to say cons, but something that might not be as good as being able to drive a BMW every day.
Yeah.
What would be something a con, something along those lines?
Well, the other part is, I mean, you guys are teachers as well, so when you're teaching somebody something and they're getting it, it's great. If they're struggling with it, or they're frustrated by it, and they're just kind of like, I just forget this, and you're trying to bring them back. Hey, come on, and you can do this. You definitely can do it, but sometimes it takes a little bit of practice or something. So that part of it sometimes is a little bit tough if they're not getting it the way they want to, and you're trying to help them, and you're trying to figure out, how can I say this a different way, or how can I help you learn that. But that also, when they do get it, you have a lot of satisfaction, but sometimes it takes a little while. People learn at different rates.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're the chief driving instructor, was that your title? What skills would you need to be a chief stunt car driver? Can we throw that in there? Stunt car driver, some skills. Now, beyond just your driving skills, because obviously we know that was going to come. So what are some skills outside of the driving skills that somebody would need?
So if you're in my role, for any of the instructors, you have to have the driving skills, you have to have the communication skills.
Communication. That's 2 weeks in a row, kids, that somebody has said something about communication.
Yes.
Last week and this week, both have been about communication. Okay, keep going.
So you have to every part of the communication, you have to be able to stand up and speak in front of a large group of people. You have to be able to interact one-on-one. You have to have the perception to kind of see maybe where they're struggling. And again, I always tell people, and our instructors do, if you don't understand something, it's because I didn't explain it the right way, so maybe I have to find a different way that you understand it. So it's not just cookie cutter the same every day, right? So you have to have those skills. For me then, I also have to have the one of hopefully spotting talent and the right personalities and instructors who want to come work for us, right? Because we've already got folks who, if you are a professional driving instructor, our 2 performance centers, that's your dream gig, right?
So it's like the top notch.
It's kind of the
in
top,
the
it's
field.
the cream of the crop, so where everybody wants to be. I want to teach there, I want to work there. So then you have to kind of say, will this person be a good fit? Sometimes if they're not working with the rest of the team, because we teach in teams, so like if we had an M school that's got 15 participants in it, we've got 5 instructors, and we've got to all work together. So that's another part. You got to be a team player, and because it's not just a one-man show or one-woman show, right? So you got guys and girls, but everybody's got to
Guys
work
and
together.
girls, awesome.
Yeah, and you gotta support each other, right? So because I might be working with you on the skid pad, and one of the other instructors is working with you on a cornering exercise, and one of the other ones is on this one. And if we're telling you different, conflicting things, you're going, wait a minute, which one of you guys should I believe? So we got to support each other and give you the information.
Awesome. So you'll be able to work in a team format. Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. We don't have any more questions yet. So, what is one cool thing that you've been able to do with your job? And I think that's where my brain was going and Brown was going to.
So I've been able to do a bunch of cool, but he's probably talking about maybe the Guinness World Record we set with the M5.
N5, Guinness World Record, which for the
longest continuous drift, which was 8 hours continuous on our skid pad right here in Spartanburg.
Okay, we're going to pause for a second. What is a drift? For those that might not know, what is a drift?
So,
now, sometimes I think I'm a master drifter in my truck when I'm trying like, "Arr!" and like, okay, but tell us what is a drift?
So it's when you have the car is kind of at a little bit of a sideways angle, and the rear tires, so this is for a rear-wheel drive car, or it could be all-wheel drive, but rear wheel typically. So those rear tires are spinning to the point where the car is hung out sideways. You've got the steering wheels kind of turned back into the skid. So in other words, if you're going around a left-hand turn, those front wheels will actually be turned to the right to counteract this thing. We used to call it like power slide when I was growing up, or you'd see it on Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, that's right. So Dukes of Hazzard, yes. But there's a kids' cartoon movie. Cars. And what does he say in Cars? Remember what he said?
Yeah, that's what he said. You got
Turn
turn right to go to the left, turn right to the left, yeah, whatever. So if anybody wants to look and see, but what made the world record the most interesting, I think, was that we had to do car-to-car refueling during the drift.
Okay.
Right.
So how long did y'all drift for?
So 8 hours.
8 hours.
8 hours.
That's a long time to
Long
drift.
time. So that was Johan, one of our instructors who did that. And then I was driving the refuel car. So every so often I would have to jump out there, drift up beside him, and a guy hangs out of the car with the fuel hose and has to plug in. So we had these cars engineered with fuel systems, fuel cells, so that then we had to transfer fuel from one car to another to refuel him so he could keep going.
So this, you can look at the video online with your parents, go look at the video.
M5 World Record Drift, BMW M5 World Record Drift, and you'll see tons of them.
Look at it with your parents, okay? 8-hour drift. What was the record before that?
So, first somebody had done a short one, maybe, I don't know how many miles it was, 4 or 5 miles. And Johan saw this back in 2003 and said, hey, I think I can do this, or excuse me, it's 2013. I think we could go longer. So he took what was then the new M5 back in 2013, and he went for about an hour and 40 minutes, and it was like 50 miles. Set a new record, just him, just one car, that was it. Then Mercedes came and they beat that record.
Well, no, so you can't let Mercedes beat y'all. So this is a competition thing that's driven.
Automotive manufacturers love records,
Right.
because they like to be able to promote, right? Do all this stuff and make ads, and it's a cool thing for them. So they beat it. Then somebody else, I think, then Toyota beat it. And so we said, how do we beat it so far? How do we put it so far out of reach that nobody can touch it? And that's where we came up with the refuel idea. And so then we knew we could go a really long time, and so then Guinness kind of changed up and said, okay, we're going to put a parameter on this thing. We're going to say the furthest distance you could go in 8 hours, but they said you could stop for fuel, you could do all this, and we're like, great, we're not stopping. So
we're being
ready for 8 hours, and I do think now the record's, I don't think anybody's going to go.
It's 8 hours. The record before was like 2 hours.
Record before was, yeah, about 2 hours, and when we did that 8 hours straight, and with no hiccups, no problems. I mean, we actually pulled it off, which is, there's 1,000 things that could have gone wrong, and we did. So I don't even know if we would want to try to go beat our own record.
Right.
Now we're probably like, no, that one's good.
So there was one car in drift, so it was going around the corners like this. Then you were driving the fueling car.
Yeah.
That was then drifting beside it.
And then we have a guy who's
A stunt car guys hanging out the
He
car
hangs out.
with what kind of fuel? Gasoline?
Oh yeah.
With gasoline.
He's got to plug into this fuel thing, so when he goes and turns, that opens the valve that lets the fuel flow through. I've got to turn on the pumps that pump the fuel out.
While you're drifting.
While I'm drifting. And then we hold that for 30, 45 seconds, and then when, we see that it's time to go, all right, he disconnects, and then we separate, and he goes for another hour or so, and a couple hours, and then I go do it again. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. That's pretty cool. Again, take a look up the video with your parents online. Awesome video. Okay, so you're the chief driving instructor now.
Yep.
Okay? So we want to find out, how did you get to that point? How did you get to that point? Okay? Going back to elementary school.
Yeah.
We're going to go way back.
So,
well, I want to say you're old.
Elementary school, which is true. Elementary school, so yeah, I always loved cars. And we got pictures of me in little push cars and riding around in the house and stuff when I was 2 years old. So I always loved cars. I loved it in school, but I don't think I knew I wanted to do this. I actually didn't really start until probably high school and college when I got into kind of muscle cars, and I had a old El Camino, and I had a Chevelle, and me and my buddies would work on these cars.
Okay, pause right there. So,
yeah.
High school, college, you still didn't know exactly what you wanted to do.
Correct.
And that is okay, kids.
Yep.
A lot of times kids get into high school and they think, I must know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life right now. Okay? The last two people we've interviewed both got in college and still had no idea what they wanted to do for the rest of their life.
Yes.
Okay? So you know you liked cars, but you didn't know which direction you wanted to go. High school, you started working on cars. Okay.
Yeah, in college I went first to business school, then I changed up to communications degree, which actually was great because it had broadcast TV, and it had journalism, and it had all kinds of different things in it. Had a minor in marketing, still didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I kind of had this epiphany that, okay, I think I want to go be a race car driver. I, at the time, found an ad in the back of a magazine. We didn't have internet back then. And it said, learn to be a race car driver. Yes, I want to do this. Well, but the place was out in California, at a place called the Jim Russell School. And they had a program you could go through and work for a year for no pay. And learn to be a mechanic, but your payoff was you got to go through their 3-day school, their 3-day advanced racing school, 3 lapping days or test days, and 8 races in a series called Formula Mazda. So they look like little Indy cars. And so I packed up my stuff after I graduated from college, told my parents, I know what I want to do. They're like, great, what is it? And when I told them, they were like, wow, okay.
For no pay.
No pay, right? They were super excited. And so took off with my buddy and drove across country to California and showed up to a place. I'd only talked to him on the phone, and there I went. So worked there for a year with those guys. Pretty quickly ended up getting a job in the office with the marketing stuff I had learned, and so I was working there and starting to make a little bit of money. Worked as a valet at a hotel, delivered Domino's pizza at night, did all kind of stuff.
To make it work.
To make it work.
Make your dream work.
And
so you had to sacrifice some things.
oh, big
It
time.
was hard work.
Yes.
Pizza delivery.
It was awesome.
Okay. Keep going.
So, ran some races with those guys, worked there, ended up there for a couple of years, but had some success, learned, made mistakes, all those other kind of things, but then got to the point where I'm like, hey, I think I'm pretty good. I think I can actually do this. And then I met a guy who was racing NASCAR and was part of a school called Fast Track back in Charlotte. And we kind of connected, and another buddy of mine kind of vouched for me who was over the race series ring and said, yeah, you guys should hook up. And I came back and worked for him at this racing school
In Charlotte.
Yeah.
Okay, where were you originally from?
Just on the east side of Charlotte, a little town called Laurinburg. I was about 100 miles from Charlotte.
Then you went to California. Now you're back.
Came back to Charlotte
Okay.
because I always really wanted to race NASCAR, stock cars. So then was working at Fast Track, the stock car school, teaching there, instructing there. So pretty much the whole time I've been doing this, I've been teaching because it was a way to stay in it and learn. The other thing I found is that when you have to focus on teaching other people how to do something, you're thinking about it and you get better at it. Because you're like, hey, wait, if this guy's doing that, maybe I'm doing that. How do I fix this problem? So then I did a bunch of this stuff. So this was way back in the day. Here's 1995. Look at this one.
What was that?
Yeah, this was
How's that, Jeff? Does that look good?
Sportsman division. Yeah, look at that one. Look, who is that guy? And
So this is in Charlotte.
yeah,
Is this at a Charlotte Motor Speedway?
it is Charlotte Motor Speedway.
I've driven
One of the cars I raced, yeah.
I've driven 7 laps on there at 140. I always think how much you get to do.
This is a few years later. That was at, I think the car was from Pocono, but anyway, there's a picture there, and
That's very cool.
yeah, and it's even got a couple little pictures on the back that show the, some of the other little, that's Charlotte in the background, the car where it's on pit lane.
Who's their tires? Okay, we're
Yeah,
just reading some of the
that's
stuff on
yeah.
that.
And then I ended up eventually, the highest I got to was the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. So that was
Oh, so you got
that was
up to the
Texas
Craftsman
Speedway.
Series.
Yep. So
That's very
was,
cool.
Was a, paid professional for a while. You had to do that, right? So, so that worked. The whole time I was doing this, I was also still working and teaching.
While you were driving the NASCAR
Yeah,
series?
because you're right in the middle of it. So customers are coming in, everybody's going to drive a NASCAR race cars, like you said, you get to do some laps the track, and so it all kind of worked that I could have a job that kept me involved in the industry, and then you're available for opportunities, right? So a seat opens up in a race car, and somebody's like, well, they're not going to think, well, hey, where do I go find some guy who's working at something, a restaurant? They're not looking for that, but they see you at the track. You start to see these guys. The sponsors would come to corporate programs with us. The team guys, you get to know them, and then something opens up, and they go, hey, man, okay, how about we give you a test in the race car, and that's how you get the opportunities.
So you had to put a lot of time in, a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of sacrificing some things in order to be able to reach this. Your dream.
Oh my goodness.
And he got it.
Got it. It was
All
good.
right.
It was fun. Yep. So that's how I got into all that part. Now, the way I came to BMW.
So we got NASCAR to BMW.
So this year, when I was racing with this year, 2000, I was racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Got in a big crash, broke my neck.
Ooh.
So that was the downside.
Yeah.
This is the downturn of the documentary.
But we are at the climax. We're all the way down.
All the way down. And so as I was recovering from that, so thankfully that was didn't have to have surgeries and all this, but I did have a couple months where I'm in a big neck brace and all these kind of things. The race team keeps moving on. They go hire a new driver.
Yeah.
So somebody else gets a shot at it. But I had a friend who had worked with me, worked on race cars. I drove, and BMW opened up, and he was one of their first instructors. And he had said a few times, hey, you need to come down here and check it out. And to me in Charlotte, Greenville seemed a million miles away. I didn't know anything about it. But as I kind of recovered and I was back ready to go do some stuff, but I didn't have a ride in NASCAR, didn't have any racing going on there, my friend said, hey, why don't you come down and help us out with this? It was called the M5 Owners Program. I'm like, okay. So I came down for the day. That was in April of 2001.
That's pretty close when they opened up? When they
They
opened
opened
up?
up in the 90, very end of 99, but really in 2000s when
Yeah.
I started kind of having customers and stuff. So they hadn't been open very long. So I came down and worked with them for a day. Again, it was driving instruction, a little different, but I'd done some of that type stuff as well with street cars. And so at the end of that day, I was like, man, this is awesome. At the end of the day, they said, what are you doing tomorrow? And I was like, well, nothing. And so that was 20 years ago. So
And now you work
at first I was, commuting back and forth, still doing some racing,
Ooh.
still doing some
Okay.
NASCAR. So it's an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. But, I mean, hey, I was single and whatever, and it was
Right.
cool and close enough to make it work. After a few years, they had asked a few times, said, hey, don't you want to come down here full time? And I thought, well, they're eventually going to stop asking, so yes. And at that point, I didn't really need to be in Charlotte as much because the NASCAR window for, a huge big deal was kind of closed, and some things had changed with the economy. There weren't as many teams. The youth movement, so all the kids were now 20 years old, who they were hiring, and I wasn't 20 years old, and so I'm like, okay, maybe I should, I could still race some, and I did race some afterwards, but anyway, it just makes sense, and so we've been here, I don't know, for probably almost 15 years now in the area, so it's been amazing. I sort of fell into it, the opportunity with BMW,
But you put all your work and your time in before
Yes.
that. And that's what a lot of times kids don't see or understand is the work you put in before you got to BMW. That's what they don't see. They just say, oh, he's a NASCAR or he's a driver instructor for BMW.
Yes.
But they don't see the years and years and years and years of work you put into it.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean, if you had to equate it to, and this is not just for me, but for all our instructors, if you had to equate the time and effort they put into learning, driving and the skill development and being able to teach it. I mean, they would all have doctorates and masters and all these degrees from all the time we put into learning this, right? So, yeah, it's not an overnight thing. Because we have people all the time go, how do I come? I want to be an instructor. And I'll say, well, do you have any teaching experience? Or do you have racing experience? Do you have any of that background? No. Well, you have to go get that. You have to have that part first, then we can teach you how to be a BMW instructor, but we don't have any way, there's not an academy to give you those years and years you need to learn it, right? And that's who you're up against, right? People say, but I work hard. I know you will, but I got 100 people who are super qualified, who are all lined up, who want to work here. And so that's your competition.
Awesome. I think we have a question. What was that next question, Mr. Young? I think there was 2 in there.
Yeah, have you ever driven the I-8?
Yes.
Okay.
It's awesome. We have the regular I-8, which is the original, right? Which is the hard top and the kind of dihedral doors that open up there. They look so magic. But now we have one that is called the Roadster, and so convertible. And I had to put some braking miles on it. It was tough. I had to take it home for the weekend, drive it around. It was pretty cool. Yeah. My kids were fighting.
Yeah.
Well, let's go for a drive, yes.
Awesome. Is there another question, Mr. Young?
I think there was one more inside.
Yeah, it says, what do you think about the BMW Next 100 drive? Is that?
Well, I'm not sure exactly which one. So there's the M Next, which is one that's is a new prototype, pre-production car they're showing. I'm not sure exactly what the next, which one. The Vision Next is another prototype, right? That is like a concept car that actually had where the front fenders could move and get bigger and to change airflow and do things. So there's some really cool concepts coming up. Both with electrification and some hybrid drive stuff, and of course autonomous stuff that is changing everything now.
Still close.
It's full autonomous is a ways off, but some of the things we have now in BMWs where you can set the cruise control, and if you're on a well-painted marked freeway, basically, I mean, the car does everything. It can slow down when it gets into traffic, it can fully stop, it can turn, it can do everything, and you're kind of just relaxed and hands-free.
I don't know that. Yeah, I'd still be nervous.
Cool, yeah.
Okay, so we're at 30 minutes.
Yep.
Science in your job.
Physics.
I didn't hear anything about a science degree. I heard marketing, but you still have a great understanding of physics.
Physics, and the other part is the geometry, right? So if you're trying to teach
Hold on. So kids are still like, I would never use this ever.
Yes.
Yeah, but we have a stunt car driver,
Yes.
physics and geometry.
Yes, because the ideal line through a corner, first you got to see the geometry of it, the largest radius through a corner, which allows you to carry the most speed, all this stuff. And then the physics, as we like to say, physics undefeated, right? So you learn stuff when you're trying to go fast in a car. If you brake too late for the corner, you go off the end of the road every time. Physics always wins, and so we're always coming back to this. And really, if you want to get into it, when you're teaching people to drive a car and manage it, what you really are as a race car driver is a contact patch manager. So that's the four little parts of the tire that touch the ground.
Okay.
The contact patch. You got 4 of those. You are managing the grip and weight transfer and load transfer and physics and all this. So it is all about that. And there are many times when I'm going, I should have paid a little bit more attention. That's what I really got back into all this stuff once I started driving, because I had an application. I could look and go, here's how this is important to me.
So has your learning stopped? So you got to this?
Never.
Never. Okay, never. So the learning, a lot of times people think, I'm going to get my job, I never have to learn anything else again. So you're constantly learning, even with the science, with the physics and geometry, you're constantly learning.
Always. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Mr. Young, you have any final questions?
I think that's it. Yeah.
That's it? Okay, well, we're going to close it up for today. So thank you, Mr. Matt, Chief Driving Instructor for BMW.
Yeah. Come see us.
Absolutely, come see them. Right off Highway 101.
Yes.
Y'all are all online?
Yeah, look us up, BMWperformancecenter.com. And you can even see, there's social media stuff on Instagram and Facebook stuff where we have some cool little things sometimes that we talk about with driving and showing off all the coolest, latest cars. And come see us. We've got a cool gift shop up front. You can come check it out, see some of the cars, and put it on your list for teen school.
Teen school. Might have to get my
Yeah,
son.
and then later,
I think my son and your daughter were friends of his brain for a while, so yeah, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
get
and then later, then you say, well, when I graduate, and do really well with honors, then in school, right? So then, you hang
That
this
sounds
up.
fancy.
Hey, your parents, if I did really well at this, what do you think? And they might go for it. Right?
Okay. Type that in there, Jeff, for us. What was it called? BMW Performance Center?
BMWperformanceCenter.com is the website.
And then everybody, even when they come back later on to view the video, they can
Yes,
access that. Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you all very much for getting in live. Y'all have a great day.